Right. The other thing I wanted to mention here is that when it comes to ownership of the PALs, something that is not expected to change is that any single organization will be limited to 4 licenses, 4 PALs in any given geography. So, and the FCC has been clear that includes anything operating under shell companies or whatever, but whoever is the holding company entity, no matter how many sub-organizations, the maximum licenses they can acquire is 4, right? So that still leaves 3 available PALs for other entities, assuming someone comes in and gobbles up 4 of them. So that will allow for multiple users. And especially if the rules go through that say you have MSAs for urban plus 2 census tracts, 2 PALs based on census tracts. So 5 MSA based and 2 census tracts per urban area. And then in rural, you have 5 county based and then 2 census tract based PALs. It's a good balanced shot that all different kinds of organizations will have access to this spectrum under that kind of regime. So because of that, it's really attractive, and it's going to be possible that even if you're a campus size entity, you may have a fair shot at operating, getting your hands on a PAL. But even if you're operating as a GAA user, remember there's 150 total megahertz. It's all available for GAA if no PALs have been auctioned or purchased. Let's say you're somewhere in rural Alaska and no one has filed for a PAL. Then all that spectrum can be used as GAA. Or let's say someone did buy a PAL, but they're not deploying, or they're only deploying in a partial area of that PAL. That spectrum can be used by GAA. Or let's say you're still building and your PAL isn't fired up or isn't really used. The SAS can still assign a GAA user. And now it's 150 megahertz. The original ISM band and 5 gig was 5.725 to 5.850. That's been around for a couple decades. And guess what? People are still deploying in that spectrum today and finding ways to make effective use of it, even in the interference environment, even with the preponderance of commercial devices that exist out there. Under CBRS, you're not going to have so many consumer kind of devices, and you still have the 150 megahertz. So there's going to be a lot of available spectrum that you'll be able to use with minimal interference problems for a long, long time. So if you don't yet today have a CBRS strategy and you operate wireless networks, proprietary or otherwise, you're doing your organization a disservice. So you need to look at this, you need to develop strategies, you need to consult with experts that may be out there that are trying to help you understand maybe how much a PAL will be worth, so you can evaluate whether you should try to pick up one at auction. But whatever it is, you need to be building a strategy and at the very least an awareness of what's going on. Now I'll close with one potential bugaboo. And this is a big issue, but I've saved it for the end because I think under fair disclosure, it's important. The SAS is not a charity service, right? So all these devices that have to plug into the SAS, they will be subscription based. So the SAS owners can do whatever model they want to support their SAS. They can have a per monthly subscription per device that connects to the SAS, to the higher power devices. Or they may say, you know what, we have some other way to monetize it. It's Google, and we're going to do something very disruptive. They haven't said how their SAS is going to be paid for. So the truth is, though, from an OpEx standpoint, it remains to be seen, and you have to follow and watch to see what that environment is going to look like if it's going to be totally subscription based, because obviously you don't want to bust, the model. And to own spectrum is great, but if you have to pay this use fee for the SAS, that might be cost prohibitive relative to the benefit that could be gained. Maybe the spectrum isn't so great, because even a GAA user, someone who does not have a priority access license, they'll still have to pay these SAS fees. So you'll want to look at that closely. And the final thing about the SAS is there are multiple ways to do it. So, for example, Google might tell you, we're going to have the best SAS in the world because we have the most granular clutter data, in other words, mapping of trees and bushes out there because of Google Earth of any organization in the world. So we'll be able to manage the environment better than anyone else, which means you'll be able to deploy in a deeper density in CBRS if you use our SAS than anyone else. That could be their argument. Where someone like Federated says, okay, that's great, but we're going to manage the environment based on real use data. We're constantly going to be sniffing the air and managing our algorithms are going to densify based on what's actually happening in the real world. So there are different ways these SASs are going to work. So before you select an SAS partner, you need to kind of look at what's their methodology for gauging the environment, and what are their claims in terms of your ability to densify under their regime versus someone else's. So I hope this has been informative. It's a lot of information. I understand that. It's tough to digest. It's hard to be a wonk at this stuff. I've been following it for many, many years now. It's very fascinating to me, but I would tell you, in my 20 plus years of working in the Spectrum environment, this is the most significant and transformational opportunity in Spectrum for spectromorphins than anything that's anything else that's come to pass. It's that significant. Billions in infrastructure products alone, just within the first few years of commercialization of this thing. It has the potential to do basically what Wi-Fi has done. Because now all you spectromorphins will have the opportunity to do something other than Wi-Fi, right? So even if you're doing just indoor stuff and you're only using GAA without a license, you have the opportunity. Let's say you're Marriott. Every property has all this Wi-Fi, but guess what? Not just guest use, but your own internal operations, maybe the maintenance guys are also using that Wi-Fi. Well, in this kind of environment, you could keep those same Wi-Fi access points, but move Wi-Fi for your guest effort or your guest services best effort stuff. And then you can move your own operations on CBRS LTE that you can think of, similar to kind of a Wi-Fi coverage, but much more secure, right? So you have the opportunity to kind of layer in Wi-Fi networks right there on top and together with CBRS networks and move your more secure critical infrastructure onto that, right? So big deal. It's absolutely transformational. And if you found this useful, drop me a couple comments, maybe share it. But I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And come visit Redline Communications on our website or email me at pleary@rdlcom.com if I can answer any questions. Thanks. Have a great day.